Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the F1 Weekly News Show, and we are moving back to our slot on the Friday for the next couple of weeks while we take a couple of weeks break on the feeder series just until we kind of get the full grid for F2 before we release the F2 season preview. But in between then, the F1 Weekly News Show will be on Friday, and we will also have our new series on the track comparison of our Track Tuesdays coming out for you guys to replace as well. But as promised, today is a special episode and it is on the car reveals. And so obviously now we know what all 10 cars look like. Well, Renault we've kind of seen rumoured pictures of, and it very much looks similar to last year's car. Currently at the moment it is their testing livery that they are using now that you've guys seen a couple of days of testing. A quick note before we get into these, I won't be kind of rating or putting the liveries in any sort of order today because me and Ash will be on the F1 debate show on Sunday, and we will be giving our liveries a rating out of 10. So make sure you join the F1 debate show, boys, and us, to kind of see what we all think of the new liveries. But now we are going to go through the liveries from kind of championship order from last year. So I will go through Mercedes all the way down to Williams and just have a quick look at what all the cars look like for the F1 2020 season. So starting off with Mercedes, and it very much looks pretty similar to last year. It now has the red included with their new sponsor, which is Ineos, that they signed a 5-year deal with. And also Mercedes signed a new deal, a deal taking it from Ferrari of AMD, which probably suggests that they're going to be around Formula 1 for just a tiny bit longer. But the car, there are kind of no real shocks to it. It's now kind of a matte teal line along on the bottom. In terms of the technical front, kind of as always probably looks superior. It doesn't look like it's had too much of concept change. I have heard that they were working on this concept for the car since January of last year. So if that's the case, and how efficient Mercedes are, it probably means that it's going to be a very good race car and will probably win a lot of races this year. But that is the first look at Mercedes. In 2 we have Ferrari, and again pretty similar. I've been told that it's a slightly darker red. They've obviously changed the fonts on the car as well. They have that kind of flatter, more button nose compared to some of the teams that have gone for the thinner nose, the Mercedes included in that one. So Ferrari have gone for the flatter nose, which fits with Binotto was saying that they're going to maximise downforce this year. And I've said it before, I think I tweeted it at the time when I saw that statement, is that to me suggests a car that more suits Sebastian Vettel from those, but we'll see how it goes. Testing has been very much baiting, but we'll do a kind of full review of the first week of testing on Saturday, coming out for you guys tomorrow. But yeah, the Ferrari again very much looks similar. They've changed the side pods, I believe, again as well, but the main key thing for them is they're going to obviously apply more downforce onto the car. Obviously last year was a very kind of low drag philosophy, and that really didn't kind of suit them over several tracks. Red Bull. The main distinguishing feature on this new Red Bull is probably the front nose, and it's very thin, kind of tapered look. I've seen a lot of kind of guys comparing the kind of look to these new thinner noses to maybe the late 80s, early 90s cars in terms of that, but that is the kind of main distinguishing feature. In terms of livery, nothing exciting really. It is Red Bull, not even camo liveries we have seen from Red Bull this year. It has just literally been, there's the Red Bull, it's exactly the same. It's a nice livery, it looks good in matte, it's their brand, it's going to be exactly the same season in, season out. Now, one of the big changes, not necessarily in colour scheme, but in how they've used that colour scheme, was the McLaren MCL 35, and this looks an absolutely beautiful car. My kind of favourite of the liveries. A little spoiler there for Sunday, but yes, it looks really nice with kind of blue trims at the top, and then you can kind of, I've seen a lot of comparisons comparing it to the early 2000s Renault, obviously switching out the yellow with the papaya. So me being a fan of that livery, it's probably no surprise that I'm a fan of this livery. But looks good. Again, gone with that kind of thinner nose philosophy. That's the kind of most notable ones from me. I'm sure there are other guys, and if you're listening to Sky Sports, that will give a more in-depth technical analysis on these things. But yes, that is probably the main distinguishing feature, and it looks just kind of a little bit more compact as a car. We now move on to Renault, and we haven't officially seen what the livery will be for this year, but we are in the testing livery. It's kind of all black, and obviously that new partnership of Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. And a common theme in the last three ones, the main distinguishing feature is that kind of thinner nose on the front. This is going to kind of be a repeat for the video, I think, on that front. But yes, you can't really say much about the livery on this one. Renault themselves haven't necessarily, I think, bigged up their chances. A lot of the kind of talk around the Renault launches was looking ahead to 2021, but they mustn't lose sight of 2020. So for me, it kind of feels like a treading water year for Renault. I wouldn't expect for them to go too heavy on this year. Their focus is very much on nailing the new set of regulations. Up next is the newly named AlphaTauri, and this has proven a very popular livery on social media. It's white with the kind of matte blue finish at the back. One of the things that, you know, isn't going down so popular is that Pierre Gasly and Daniel Kvyat's helmets are pretty much the same. They've gone for the kind of Racing Point approach, which are up next, which we'll talk about there, where they're pretty much identical. They kind of look the car, and it's a shame really, because it's always interesting seeing the drivers' helmets be a bit unique as their kind of stamp on things. And so yeah, that's disappointing on that front. The actual car reveal itself, it dragged on a very long time, but when it was revealed, a lot of people were impressed with what the car did. But yes, they had a fashion show and then a big kind of blanket pull off as they revealed their car for the coming season. I was talking, I think, to Sean about this, and the funniest part of that kind of launch was that Franz Tost was trying to sit on it as it was spinning around, and his little feet were just kind of trying to keep up with that. And yeah, it was an amusing launch. Ferrari definitely win bonus for the most extravagant and over the top one, because it's Ferrari, so you'd expect that. But AlphaTauri are probably in a kind of close second place on that one. Next up we have Racing Point, and shock horror, their car is pink. And as you can see here, there is actually, as it's come to testing, there is a lot of kind of talk and debate around this, in terms of the Racing Point pretty much just looks like last year's Mercedes. Like, you know, you just look at the things, apart from the side pods, everything pretty much looks like an absolute match. And you know, it's testing, we can't take times too seriously. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But yes, Racing Point have been doing well in the testing, being in the, well, Perez finished in the top 3 yesterday, and I think as I currently film this, he's top in the morning session in testing there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Racing Point do for this upcoming season, that is for sure. Lots of kind of talk about the link between Lawrence Stroll and Toto Wolff maybe having an influence in this one. Next up we have Alfa Romeo, and they've changed the red slightly on this car, and I really love this red. It was a nice livery last year. I think it was one of people's favourites liveries, and again it looks really good, and if possible I think they've improved it. I really just like that kind of glossy real dark deep red that they've got on the car. Not too much you can tell in terms of differences in philosophy on the car. It was one that was, well, images were released on the day of testing, so there was kind of no big extravaganza show around the Alfa Romeo launch. It seems very much they're quietly going about their business, and with all these teams in the kind of bottom half, or you know, midfield actually, I think in general, they are so, everyone's mind is in 2021, but I think especially the midfield teams, because they have so much to gain from those new sets of regulations, that you wouldn't expect to see too much difference in the Alfa Romeo this year. Haas, probably one of the nicest liveries. They've gone back to similar to the 2018 livery, back to their company colours, incorporating white, black and red. I've seen comparisons to the kind of Porsche colours that obviously they use in WEC, so that's kind of really interesting to see there. But it's a really nice car, and out on track, again, it looks fantastic. One of the ones with the wider nose, a bit similar to the Ferrari, so yeah, probably not too dissimilar there. Haas get a lot of their parts that they can buy in from Ferrari. Ferrari have a wider nose. Haas probably going to have some sort of a similar car in the way that it looks to Ferrari, just in terms of that close relationship that they share. But a very nice livery, and it was actually the first one to drop as the race, the kind of new guy, well, some old guys from Autosport kind of got this all together, and yeah, they got the exclusive releasing the renders of the Haas car, so that was pretty cool for them. And last but not least, to round off this car reveal special, and that is Williams. And the toothpaste jokes have been coming in thick and fast. Aquafresh, Colgate, everyone's been giving their kind of favourite toothpaste brands, and that they think this Williams car looks like. Claire Williams, even to the extent, made sure she tweeted Crofty on the first day of testing going, "Stop with the fresh jokes, we need to stop the toothpaste jokes, thanks." But I think I saw Tomo mention what he thinks it looked like on Twitter, and I think he summed it up perfectly for me, and that is the fact that it looks like a dinky Hot Wheels car, which is what a race car should look like, and it does look a very race car. Maybe not very Williams. It's a nice livery. I wouldn't instantly look at it and think Williams, but I do think it is quite a nice livery, and I think it's one of my favourite out of the new big changes. But I think whenever we get something shiny and new, we always get more drawn and attracted it to go, "Ooh, that's really nice." But yeah, that, guys, is the roundup of all the car liveries. It'll be fantastic in the comments down below to hear what you think is your favourite livery. Who do you think's done the best job? And you can also give your kind of first initial thoughts from testing. But like I said, tomorrow I will be doing a full review of the first week of testing for F1. If you are new around here, guys, don't forget you can subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification, and you can keep up to date with all our latest content just like this one. And for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.